quick history lesson. So this is what a sandwich used to look like. A modest, humble meal, something that used to be reserved for the working class. And this is what the most innovative sandwich in history looks like. An innovation that will ripple across the culinary world for years to come. This is the club sandwich. And almost every sandwich developed since owes something to the club sandwich. And that's what we're gonna be making today, including our own deli meat made from chicken, since deli meats these days apparently are killing people. But before we do that, let's chat for 1 minute about club sandwiches. You see, sandwiches used to be rather plain and boring, lacking imagination. But the club sandwich raised the bar. It set the standard for layered sandwiches, influencing everything from classic deli staples to fast food items like McDonald's Big Mac. And it was a sandwich that introduced the concept of balance, utilizing multiple textures, crunchy, crispy, soft, chewy. And it expanded the horizon of what ingredients were suitable to go inside of a sandwich. And it had this ability to be both a luxury item and a humble convenience, which is a concept that is very much a part of the zeitgeist today. So now that we've given the club sandwich its flowers, let us now make it to perfection, starting with turning chicken into deli meat. First step is going to be to make a brine for the chicken. So I'm gonna start with 4 cups of water, and I'm gonna need a 1/4 cup of salt, and then a 1/4 cup of sugar. Just gonna give that a whisk, try and dissolve as much as I can. Then I'm just gonna pop this into the microwave and just get everything dissolved. Maybe a minute or 2. Once it's all dissolved, if it's a little warm, just go ahead and add some ice cubes, and that should cool it down enough that we can add the chicken to it. So then I've got a bowl here, and I've got 2 chicken breasts here. These are on the larger side, maybe 8 ounces each. The bigger the chicken breasts, the bigger the piece of meat you're gonna get. And this would also work with turkey, right? Turkey's just harder to find now, but if you find turkey, especially in the holidays coming up, you could turn this into turkey meat the same way we're gonna be doing today. So I'm just gonna go in with the chicken breasts and then just cover it with the brine. Now I'm gonna carefully add this to the refrigerator, and we're gonna let this brine for 45 minutes. All right, so our chicken has had a little time to brine. Just gonna pour out the brine and dry off the chicken. Now you see I've got my chicken here, and you'll see I've kind of got them in opposite directions, which is important. So now those are oriented. The only thing we have to add now is a little something called transglutaminate, also known as meat glue. It's nothing crazy chemically, nothing bad for you. This is often used to take meat scraps and to form it in something else to create some product to minimize on waste. And it has lots of other functions, including taking these 2 pieces of chicken breast and gluing them together, rolling them to create what would look like a small version of a turkey deli meat. It's just a powder, it looks like flour. So I'm just going to take just like a little tablespoon maybe, lightly dust it on each side of the chicken, but just on this one side. Make sure you get the edges. And it's definitely not gonna affect the flavor in any way. Just a light dusting it on top. And then essentially, we're gonna take the fat side and fold it over the skinny side, just like that. Set this off to the side real quick. Take some plastic wrap, and we're just going to take our stacked chicken breast right in the center towards the beginning of where you're gonna roll it. Then I'm just gonna fold the edge over, pull it back nice and tight, just like you would a burrito, and then start to roll it and build tension inside, and just like a sausage, we're gonna cinch the edges to create just a tight cylinder of chicken that's going to form into what looks like a small deli meat. And I'm just gonna take a toothpick and just poke some holes, let some air escape so we can get a really tight seal in there. Once it's rolled up, we're gonna kind of take those edges and grab them and roll it. Then we're gonna take another piece, and we're gonna take it that long way and just keep it nice and cinched and tight. Now you have a perfectly rolled up about 1.5 pound chicken breast. Now you may be asking, Steve, how do you plan on cooking that with all that plastic wrap? And we're gonna be using a technique today that we've never used on this show before, but I have become a big fan of behind the scenes as I've sort of played around with it, which is sous vide. And this is my sous vide kit. Now, if you're a fan of slow cookers, you will be a fan of this. Imagine a slow cooker that can cook a filet mignon to perfection without you doing anything. And so I have this bucket here, it has a little weight to keep things submerged. Got this on Amazon, maybe $5-10 bucks. And then I got the Breville Jewel. This is a beautiful tool here. It comes with an app, and in the app I can pick what I want to cook, and it can kind of just do it for me. So that goes in, and I'm just gonna fill it up with water. And you don't have to use one of these. You can use a pot if you want. And then now, all we have to do is open up the Breville app. This is not an ad, by the way, for them. And I'm gonna pick Turbo Skinless Chicken Breast. I'm gonna set a timer. Starts with how I wanna cook it. I like to go down to 149. Contrary to popular belief, it will be cooked at that temperature. Then it's gonna ask me how many chicken breasts I'm cooking. I'm saying 2. It's gonna ask me to measure how thick this is. So I'm gonna call it 2 3/4 inches. Then it asks to weigh it, and it's 1 pound, 7.3 ounces. Now the whole cook is set up. It's got my internal temp, and it says about anywhere from 2 to 2.5 hours to finish it. So then I'm gonna press start my turbo cook, and the machine's gonna turn on and start heating the water. And it says add the food to the water now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna throw it into one of these freezer Ziploc bags, and we don't even need a vacuum sealer, because if I just keep the bag open and add it to the water and push it down, all the air is gonna be pushed out of the bag, essentially vacuum sealing it without the need for one of those fancy machines. And then we want that submerged on the water, so I'm just gonna add that guy. And that's about it. And the beauty of this thing is once that's at its temperature, you could literally set it in that temperature in the water for hours. It won't overcook. It'll stay at a safe temperature. And since it's electric, you can go to work, come home by the end of the day, have all sorts of things cooked if you cook it sous vide. You could have a steak resting at a perfect medium rare. And as soon as you come home, you can take it out of the water, sear it on a pan, and have restaurant quality steak anytime you want. Probably going to explore the use of sous vide more. I'm finding it to be a valuable tool in the home kitchen. We're gonna let this go until this app tells me it's ready. Now usually sous vide cooks at one temperature, the final internal temp, so 149. But with this turbo method, the temperature starts out a little bit higher at about 162 to get the chicken cooking faster. And over time, the temperature drops down until it reaches that final resting temp of 149. Then it's ready and we can get it out of the water and out of the Ziploc bag. Now this is ready to go. And if you don't have a sous vide machine, you could cook this a few different ways. You could stick a thermometer in there, roast it at like 200 degrees real low and slow until the thermometer hits about 150, 155, whatever you want that internal temperature to be. You could also submerge this in olive oil, put it in a 200-degree oven, and confit it really slowly until it reaches the temp you want it. But this is nice, it's easy, minimal mess, and it's gonna be perfect. We just need to now let this firm up and cool down and chill so it's easy to slice. 2 hours in the refrigerator, but I don't have time today, so I'm gonna throw it in the fridge and just come back tomorrow and we'll finish up the sandwich. Now we're back the next day. And let me remind you, you can't do this in one day. I just lost track of time. And all that's left to do is to prepare a few things, one of which being to cook some bacon to perfection. Now on the food truck, bacon was a big item. So one of the ways we learned to roast it is by overlapping them slightly on the meat side. So that meaty side right here, we're gonna overlap that and let the fattier side kind of touch the pan. And if you overlap them slightly, you can fit more in a sheet tray and they will shrink as they cook, creating more space in the pan. And it makes a big difference because if it takes 40 minutes to roast a sheet of bacon and you can eliminate one sheet by just adding a few more to each sheet, you're saving yourself about 40 minutes in prep. Now I'm just gonna throw this into a cold oven. Then I'm just gonna turn it on 475 degrees Fahrenheit. I spoke wrong as I often do. I meant 375, not 475. We're gonna cook it for about 30, 40 minutes. Flipping it halfway through, rotating it during the cooking process. If some in the middle are still pale and some of the edges are getting too crispy, I'll move the edges to the center and move the pieces in the center to the edges. And I'll just sort of work the pan over the next 30, 40 minutes to make sure each piece of bacon is perfect. And if one is perfect before the other, I'll remove that piece of bacon and allow the others to finish becoming perfect. I knew it was weird that cooked fast. I was cooking at 475 like an idiot. This dyslexic brain of mine never fails me. So I'm gonna drop it down to 375 and just keep flipping them, keeping an eye on them, knowing that they're cooking a little hot, and just making sure both sides of the bacon gets brown. After a few flips, they're done. They're nice and brown on all sides. Maybe some tips got a little burnt, but I made a silly mistake. So I'm just gonna get them out, put them on a paper towel to dry off. And then of course, you never waste the bacon fat. Pour that into my little bacon chicken fat bowl, and you can save that for other uses. Looking good. A lot of the pieces are nice and perfect. These will like firm up as they carry over cook. Some ends are a little overdone. Like I said, I screwed up the temperature. Dyslexia is a real son of a bitch. So these are good to go. We're gonna set those off to the side. Next up, I've got some hearts of romaine. So I just kind of want to find the perfect little insides. Something like that. That's gonna be nice. I don't really love throwing like the thick end of this, like the rib right here. It kind of throws off the structure of the sandwich. So I'm gonna go and find the tops. Just a nice little bundle of lettuce like that. That's gonna be enough for the sandwich. And set that off to the side. Then we need a nice tomato. I like a nice big one here. One that's gonna fit the size of the bread so I can just get one nice slice and that'll be enough. Just gonna cut the end off because I can't use that. Nice, beautiful piece of tomato here. I don't want it too thin and I don't want it too thick. Something like that. You can set that off to the side with the lettuce. We can cut into our lovely little chicken. Now, as you'll see, there's gonna be some like kind of gelled juice in there. That's just all the cooking liquid that's been keeping it moist overnight as it's rested. And look how juicy that is. Looks like deli meat. You could see where it's all glued together. It's perfect. It's exceeded my expectation. Now, I've tried to cut this with a deli slicer, one of those cheap guys I got on Amazon, but hand carving it seems to be the best. With a nice long carving knife, just kind of carefully and slowly shave as thin a slices as you can, and there you've got chicken deli meat. That's homemade deli meat right there. The next up, all we have to do is handle the bread. And of course, first triple decker sandwich, we need 3 pieces of bread. I like to try and find a real nice square piece. Just gonna pop this into the toaster. Toast the bread however you like. I have this Bermuda toaster that uses a little bit of water to steam the bread, which is nice, but I wouldn't recommend this machine if you make a lot of toast. And then just toast them till nice golden brown. Now we can take our bread. This curved piece, that's gonna be my middle slice. The nicely toasted side's gonna be the outside, so I'm gonna build the sandwich inside here. First stop, a little QP mayo, a little bit on each piece of bread. Just like that, a little swizzle of it should be plenty. Then we just wanna pile up that chicken on the first layer. And we wanna loosely lay it down, have some air flowing through them. Just wanna create a nice base of chicken. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but the name club sandwich is supposedly an acronym representing chicken lettuce under bacon. Whether that's true or not is irrelevant, but I'm gonna sort of follow that same idea, but I like to do the turkey sandwich on one bottom, close that up, and then build almost a BLT on top. Still chicken, lettuce, tomato, under bacon, and then we close it all up. So then on this side, one more swizzle of that mayo. Then we can start to build in our little bed of lettuce. Then the tomato goes on to contain that lettuce. Salt on the tomato, always. And then some pepper. Then we can take some of our perfect little bacon and start to shingle it one way, and then start shingling it the other way. Then you close it up, give it a compress, and then another invention, using toothpicks to keep it all together. And so you could do the corners and you would get square cuts, but if you place them at the center of each edge of the sandwich and then cut them on an angle one way and then an angle the other, you're gonna get these perfect little triangles. And then of course, very classic, you sort of lay them down. Then with either some French fries or some chips. And I don't know, this just did something to me growing up. The layers, the colors, the shape of the sandwich. It's truly unique. And I like to serve it with Frank's Red Hot. And what I love about them the most is that they're like these little 3-bite bangers. The chicken's juicy and it's perfectly cooked, and all the other ingredients just play with each other perfectly. It just eats nice and clean. If you want to make this recipe right here, recipe is going to be down in the description. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.